Let's be honest. Racing is the most dangerous sport out there. The probability of getting into a crash is really high, and every crash can be fatal. But just like everything else, the sport has evolved, and these cars are pretty safe today. There are a lot of equipments which made this possible, and one of them is the car itself. Modern sports cars use what we call a monocoque chassis. This type of chassis is something in which all the body panels are integrated into a single unit which forms the entire frame of the car. Other alternatives like space frame and ladder exist, but monocoque it's superior. That's because it provides the best of both worlds. Since all the components are integrated as one, it reduces the overall weight of the car, which improves performance. In addition, cars that use monocoque frames are generally safer for the driver and are much reliable. That's why pretty much every car you see on the road today is a monocoque. So, how does a monocoque frame improve safety? We're diving into a physics lesson, but stay with me. Take a look at these two pictures. Just on plain sight, it can be noted that the entire surface area of a monocoque chassis is significantly larger than that of the space frame chassis. So, when the car collides, the impact of collision is spread over a larger area. As the area of impact increases, the overall forces absorbed by the chassis also increases. This reduces the overall impact felt by the driver. I'm not saying other frames are bad. Space frames are really good at absorbing forces, but they simply can't provide the safety you get with a monocoque frame. Another reason why monocoques are safe is because they can break apart. During a collision, as the forces are exerted on the chassis, some sections of the frame break apart and are thrown away. Those components are actually absorbing the forces, and by breaking apart, they carry the force with themselves and prevent the impact from being further transmitted into the chassis. Space frames and ladders are too rigid for this. Each individual member is welded, so they cannot break apart simply due to their nature, and that's why they're not the best when it comes to dissipating the energy during a collision. Now, knowing that the entire chassis is fabricated to be quite safe, impact attenuators are the next line of defense. These are basically energy absorbing structures in the sides, front, and sometimes in the rear of the car. These are deformable, that is, they are weaker than the actual chassis and might break apart during an impact. So, why are they made like this? If they are made stronger than the chassis, they do not absorb the force during a collision. Instead, they transmit the force further into the chassis, which is something you don't want. However, if they are weaker on the other hand, they can absorb the impact. The cockpit, as you all might be knowing, is where the driver sits and operates the car. Cockpit safety is not a concern in closed wheeled series. However, in open wheel series like Formula 1, Indy 500, etc., the cockpit is exposed. So, there are some precautions that need to be taken in order to protect the driver. In 2016, the Mercedes F1 team proposed the concept of a halo over the driver's cockpit to protect the driver's head from incoming debris. After 2 years of testing and developing, the halos were finally approved by the FIA in 2018 and they're one of the most important safety features in these cars. The halos can withstand forces of up to 12 tons. That's insane. But hold on, IndyCars have an edge. Starting from the 2020 season, IndyCars feature an aeroscreen. This basically refers to a glass screen surrounding the entire cockpit. This idea was initially proposed by Red Bull in Formula 1, but it was rejected by the FIA. However, IndyCar racing is not controlled by the FIA, and the governing officials had an R&D team work on the aeroscreen, and the output was amazing. These screens can withstand forces of up to 17 tons, and they use special glass for this, which does not shatter into pieces. This, in my opinion, is much safer than the ones used in Formula 1. The list of safety equipments and innovations in motorsports is quite large, but that's it for this video. Thanks for the time, and if you like this, a sub to the channel would be really amazing.